everyone. If you're new to the channel, my name is Sarah, and I've been detecting as a hobby now for the last year. I got some interest in some of my previous videos for me to show you all what I have found. And I thought that was a great way to show you what's possible waiting out there for you. So let's get started. Okay, here we are. Here are some of the finds laid out right here for you. I've also got other things that I'm gonna pull in from time to time, but I wanted to put at least some of the finds right here on the counter. Yeah, I have a rough outline of what I'm gonna go over with you all, but really it's just gonna be me kind of off the cuff going through everything. So forgive me if I don't seem overly rehearsed, but you know what? That's kind of the best, isn't it? That can lead to some organic things, which I enjoy. So let's get into it. I thought the first thing I could start with are the coins that I have found. So back here you'll see this case. It's actually, I found it on Amazon. And it's for pressed flowers actually. But I thought for the amount of coins that I have, I wanted to find a creative way to just display them without putting them in individual stands. So I got this frame and it's worked really well. I've enjoyed it. The frame just has a little stand here, and to get them out, see if you can see that. It just has a little latch here that you can open up, and this goes on my finds shelf that I have. It's been great so far. So let's get into the coins. I have a few out here too. You've actually saw me find the ones back here, but I'll explain the ones that are in the case that you did not see me find. First one I want to talk about, and this is pretty exciting. This is exciting for me in general because it's kind of like experiencing finding those items all over again, which is very special. So let's go through it, and yeah, I'll try to explain everything as best as I can. This coin here, I'll try to show you, make sure I've got the right one. Maybe it's this one here. Okay, yeah, that's it. I don't know if you can see that overly well. Let me see if I can maybe zoom in a bit. And the lighting's a little rough today. I'm filming this part of the video another day. So the day I did the intro, it was nice and bright. And today it is raining. And that's just the way it goes. But can you see that that says 1903 right there? This is what's called an Indian head penny. So the front looks like that. Right here, you can't see it in the video, but right along there it says Liberty. If you flip it over, it's actually, do I have that right? No. There we go. So it's actually the obverse, not the reverse. You can see 1 cent. And a shield there, I believe, is what it's called. I can't quite remember what's on the outside. It might be a bit of a wreath. This is the very first coin I found on my very first hunt. Talk about an amazing first hunt, an amazing first coin find. When I pulled it out of the ground, I might sound dramatic, but I teared up because this felt amazing. It felt like I was touching history. I was connecting with history in a way that I really hadn't before. And this is coming from someone who used to work at a living history museum. So this is different. This is very different. This is amazing to realize that the person who had held it before me was of this era. and I was the next person to come along and find it. It was a real lucky find, honestly. I'm surprised I found it on my very first trip out. But at the same time, I did research about where I was going to go, where the first place I ever dug. I did research and I asked for permission even before getting a detector because I wanted to make sure I had a secure place to detect outside of just, my yard. I wanted to make sure I had a secure place to detect before I got into everything. And that was just my preference. But I think it paid off because that was my very first coin. And it's a very special one for me. The next one, this is not going to be in order. This is the very first one I found. The rest of these I'm not going to do in order, but we'll just go down the Indian head penny route. I've got, this one was the one that I first picked up. Let me try to zoom in here. Ooh, boy. All right. Okay, another one. This is 1899. 1899. I think it was, no, it was this one. I think it was this one that was my very first 1800s coin. And that was so cool. That just felt like I had reached another level of finds. It was like amazing to realize that I had found something from the 1800s. So 1899 is this Indian head penny. Switch the obverse here. You can see that 1 cent and the shield. I just think these coins are so cool. I love the way they pop with that green because it's copper. Think of Lady Liberty. She's copper and she's green now with oxidation. So this was really neat to find as well. Put that right next to that one. This was pretty, came up pretty rough, but it is another Indian head penny. I'm not sure what happened there with the coloration. I guess maybe some of it didn't get oxidized as much as other parts of it. I think it kind of gives it a cool effect though. It's really neat. Let's see if I can show you. This one was 1897. So I got a 1903, 1899, and 1897 Indian head penny. Each one of these, oh man, so cool to find these. A pretty coin. I found several other Wheaties here. Let me zoom back out. I found different wheat pennies. Let me see if I can find a good one here for you. So this one I found. So a wheat penny has Abe on it. This one is 1919, so it has Abe. And then the obverse, you can see 1 cent with the sheaths of wheat. And it says United States of America underneath there. Another neat penny to find. 1919. And then I have other wheat pennies. They're all pretty much the same, just different years. Let's see what this one is. This one's 55. This one came up so tarnished. If I maybe get electrolysis on it, I could clean it up a little bit better. And it would clean up a little nicer than that. But it's possible it's just beyond repair at this point. This one, 51. I sort of had to, I think I did electrolysis on this maybe, and I smoked it a little bit so that some of the details would come out a little bit better because it was really rough to see. This one, oh, I think this one says 1928. You really can't see that. It took me a long time to figure out what that was. 1928, I have a 1956 here, a 1944. These were interesting to find because I at first didn't quite realize what I had found. This looks like a regular old dime that we're used to seeing. This is Roosevelt on the front. They're affectionately known as Rosies. This one is 1950. So what that means is this is, I believe it's 92.5 silver, or it's 90% silver. So this is before clad dimes, which started after 1964. So 65 would have been the first clad dime. So I found two of those right very close to each other. It was so cool to find them together like that. I mean, it wasn't in the same hole, but it was very close. This one is 1946. And once I really understood what I found, I just thought, wow, this hobby is amazing, really, truly. And when these came out, they looked just like this. So that's the great thing about silver. It pops out of the ground just like that. And you really don't have to clean it up much. Got a little tarnishing, but not bad. Okay, so I'm saving the best, which I consider the best, for last. When I found this, I had one of those moments where I found it and I picked it up and I actually didn't want to look at it right away. It was weird. I didn't want to look at it because I was too excited, and it was almost like once I'd look at it, the moment would be gone. So I couldn't even get myself to look at it right away because I was so excited. But this is a 1892 Barber dime. So that is Liberty on the front. And usually you'd see more of like I don't know what they'd call it, kind of a crown of for lack of a better word right now, plants, And on the obverse here, you can see one dime. Look how pretty that is. I couldn't get over it. I think that's a really pretty coin. Yeah, this coin really felt very special to me. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I think this was the first 1800s coin I found. Yeah, because that felt particularly amazing, that I had finally found an 1800s coin, and it happens to be, again, just like the Rosies, it's silver. It is not clad. Yeah. Oldest coin I've found to date. I do hope to find older, but this one will always be special to me. First 1800s silver dime. And of course there are other types of Barbers, the quarter, I think there's a $50 as well. But all of them are very special to me. Each find is so special, but I love the look of those Indian head pennies. And I love that Barber dime. It's just so neat. One of the things that I do after I come home, clean up the coin, get a better look at it, make sure I have the date right. One of my favorite things to do is to actually go and look to see what took place in that exact year around the world. I really enjoy doing that because it helps to put me in that mindset and in that perspective. I can't fully understand what was going on at that time. I'll never be able to understand it because I didn't live it. But to get facts about what was happening around the world at that time gives me a perspective of the person who was last holding that coin and what they were experiencing and the news that they were hearing and the things that they were doing. I had thought about going through and, going through each of these coins and telling you the history that was happening around that time. But obviously that would make a very long video. I'm considering doing it in separate videos, but we'll see. So that's the coins. And of course, I've got the coins here that I found on a different video, the foreign coins, the Trinidad and Tobago and the Romanian coin, as well as that clad Rosie with that weird hole kind of mark there. But those are the coins. That's what I've found so far, and I am thrilled with each and every one of them. I truly, truly am. It's very special when you first find an old coin in the ground. I can't quite explain that feeling. Let's go on to the next items, and I'll try to go through this a little quicker because I don't want to make this too terribly long so that you lose interest. Some of the things that you heard me talk about, I did find spoons. So this is the spoon I found on the video. This one is nickel silver. Really cool design. I mean, things just used to be decorated in a ornate way, unique. I just love finding them. I think this was the first spoon I found, actually. Not sure what's up with the color, because, oh yeah, this was one that I could not get a reading off the back here. So maybe it's silver plated. I doubt it, but maybe that's what I'm looking at here, that discoloration. This is like rubbed down to the base metal, and this is some kind of coating of something. And if I could read that, maybe I'd be able to tell. But that's the very first one I found. I thought that was really neat. And just other various ones. This one's not as ornate. It's very flat. Doesn't even... Oh no, this was the first one I found that said nickel silver on it, and that was the first time I had heard of that. So I did some research, and I do find that very cool. Another nickel silver. This one's pretty as well. Ornate handle. And then this last one, it's all bent like that, but this one is actually silver plated. It says it right on the back. It says Clinton silver plate. So yeah, closest thing to silver is silver plate, I guess. So I thought that was pretty exciting. Things I've got back here, I found different dog tags over the last year. One Brody and one Wilderness. I did take a look. Hopefully that number didn't flash there because I don't want to reveal anybody's information. But I did take a look at the numbers on these, and I did try to contact people because I thought, if this were my pet and they had lost their tag, I think it would be really cool to receive it back. But Brody and Wilderness, sorry I couldn't return you to your owners, but you will be very special to me for as long as I have you. Dog tags. This back here was interesting. It is probably, I don't know if it's like the back part or maybe the connector part for a little tractor trailer. I found inside here it is labeled, and it says Hubley Kitty Toy. So I looked that up, and I discovered that was a company from around the 1950s. And I actually have another one. Let me look down here. I actually have another one I found. They were not in the same hole, although they were relatively in the same area. Not quite, but sort of. And on the back it says the same thing. Hubley Kitty Toys. So I wanted to keep that. I thought that was pretty cool. Let's see. All right, let's talk about these just because I can't wait any longer. This was truly an amazing find for me. So it came out of the ground. It was very dirty, but I cleaned it up when I got home, and I started to see, when I saw it come out of the ground, I went, oh my gosh, that's a belt buckle. And when I got it home, I started cleaning it up, and I started to second guess myself because what was on the back, let me show you that. I cleaned, and some of it's still dirty. And if anybody has a good recommendation for how to clean things like this properly, please, please leave it in the comments. I'm always so afraid. I do some cleaning, light cleaning, but I'm always so afraid I'm going to over clean or clean it and ruin it. So I'd almost rather just leave it with the patina on it, but I do clean it enough to get some of the detail off. And what was on the back, let me see if I have it the right way. What was on the back says, I don't know if you can see that. I hope you can. It says patented for Bulldog. And I started to think that this was actually a dog collar, part of a dog collar. But my first reaction to it was right. I reached out to people online, metal detectorists, and I wanted people's opinion. So I reached out, I asked, and everyone said, no, this is a belt buckle, and it is from around the 1920s. And you can really see that because of the design here. That is very Art Deco. I love it. I just think it is so pretty. I love the design. I love this, and I love the little sort of plant going up that way, flowers. I just think it's so unique. So this is the first belt buckle I've ever found, and I have to say it's a stunner. So shortly after that, so I found this in the same hole, which kind of threw me off as well. I think it just happened to be in the same hole, and someone online told me, no, this wouldn't have gone with that. So for whatever reason, it was in the same hole. But that did kind of throw me off as well. But shortly after that, I found this one. And let me see if I can... actually does a little better with detail if I can get a little bit wet. So let me try that. Just kind of getting a little bit here. Let's see if that'll help. This is another belt buckle from the 1920s. See if that helped at all. Oh, hard to see in this lighting, honestly. But it is kind of like a... I would say Western sort of design to it, that kind of look. And this here, I thought actually it was broken at first, and it is on both sides, but that is the way it was designed. If I think too, I can maybe try to put up an example I found online of it being pristine. It's actually really pretty. So same thing, it's got this kind of loop on the back, and yes, this one is the one that says silver plate on it. So that's pretty neat. And again, I wish I knew how to clean it a little bit better. But at the same time, I'm okay with it being just like this because that tells a story. So that's okay with me. I did research on this one, and I don't have that research right now. That I didn't write it down. I just did it at the time for myself. But I know more about this one than I do this one. Every time I try to research patented for Bulldog or Bulldog belt buckles, I get dog collars for Bulldogs. So that I need to do a little more research on. But we'll kind of stick in the same vein, and I'll show you this next find. This was very exciting for me. When it first came out of the ground, I thought it was an earbud. Isn't that funny? But it was so caked with dirt that I thought, oh, this is someone's earbud, and it just kind of broke down. No, this is a cufflink, and I believe that to be mother of pearl. I did research on this one, and I'm thinking I might talk to you guys a little bit about it because I found it pretty cool. Let me see if I can pull up my notes here on it. So this... I did some research on it because I finally was able to find the hallmark on it. And what I found here is right down here. You really can't see it very well, but right there is a little clover with a horseshoe around it. So I went off of that. I looked up that hallmark, and what I found was this. It is the company Parks, Bro and Rogers, excuse me. It was a jewelry manufacturing company known for producing a variety of men's accessories, particularly cufflinks, during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. So that sounds about right. Sounds about right for where I was hunting this. That makes a lot of sense. They were based in Providence, Rhode Island, and operated between 1892 and 1930. The company is recognized by its hallmark, which often features a clover inside a horseshoe. The materials often used range from enamel, gold, silver, and various stones like mother of pearl and moonstone. So that makes complete sense. So I believe that to be mother of pearl. I could be wrong, but based on the research I did, that makes complete sense. So that was really neat to be able to find a hallmark there and do the research and find out about a company that I had no idea it existed. So that's pretty cool. Sticking with the jewelry line, you might have seen me at the very beginning of this video wearing this necklace, and I wear it every day. I took it off for this video. Alina gave me this necklace, so there's a little A there. But that's not what we're looking at. Let me take it off here. What I decided to do was take this and put it around the necklace so that I have it with me. This is the very first ring that I ever found. And I think the design is really very much me. It's unique enough, but it's also very simple. Nothing too flashy. I did some research online. It's a 925 silver ring. And this was an interesting find for me because it was out in my front yard. And it is not mine. All I had found out in the yard was clad. And one day after a snowstorm came through, snow was starting to melt, and I came home over lunch and I thought, I just feel like detecting. So I went out into the front yard again, over an area where I had swept before, and I went to a specific spot where the sun had hit the snow enough for it to start receding a little bit. And that's where I chose to start swinging my detector. And the first place I set my detector down was this ring. And needless to say, I was done. I was on my lunch break and I only had about 10 minutes anyway, so I wasn't expecting to find a whole lot. But I found this and that was it. I was just over the moon about it. Now, this might not be that old. I did reach out to some people, ask about what people thought. But I can't quite remember what I found. It might be, not that old, maybe 40 years potentially. My plan is to someday take all of the jewelry items to a local antique shop, an antique jewelry shop, I should say, for them to appraise them and tell me what they can about these items that I've found. So that's in the works at some point. And going along with a ring, this one was very unique. I went out this day and was specifically trying to start tuning my ears to gold and see if I could figure out what gold might sound like. And this one came up, and it is, I believe, gold plated or gold gilded, I guess. Again, I need to take it somewhere Now, this one's a bit confusing for me. What it says on the front is USN, United States Navy. And this is a special one. If I could get it back to the person or the family who dropped it, I would. But there's no writing on it, no hallmark. Obviously, the base metal was nothing special. But the fact that it says USN, oh, that's just so cool. Now, it is very, very small. Let me try to show you here. There you go. It's on my pinky and it can't even fit there. So what I did was I reached out again to people who might be knowledgeable about it. And someone suggested maybe a neckerchief slide, which I thought was interesting and very valid because it's not very big. So that might make sense. But again, I'm going to get that appraised. So on to the next. This pocket watch. Yeah, this was a special one. It was the first pocket watch. That was one of my bucket list items, and I keep it in this little case. You can see down at the bottom there, very, very tiny, you can see made in USA. And the wording at the top, very, very hard to see. I tried to clean it as best as I could. But again, I reached out to folks, and someone suggested that this is what's called a New Haven dollar watch. Let me see my notes on this one. This was another cool one. So the New Haven Watch Company produced dollar watches. They're inexpensive, mass-produced pocket watches with minimal features and low-quality construction, and that's pretty evident. Oddly, too, this feature, which is normally at the top, is somehow, and for some reason, down here. Now, maybe it got turned around, not sure. Maybe this was like a nurse's watch. I have no idea. But that was an interesting thing. But they're characterized by stamped metal parts, few jewels, and little to no finishing. And these watches were common, affordable timepieces during their time, but are not known for their quality compared to higher-end brands. And again, that's very, very noticeable. From what I could find, the company started in 1883 and then changed names at one point, but officially filed for bankruptcy in 1956. So what I was able to determine with the help of others is this was roughly probably 1930s, 1940s. But that will always be very special to me because that was the first one I had ever found. And I don't even care if it's low quality. It doesn't matter to me. This is another watch part, pocket watch part that I found. Different place, different area. But I really love gears. I love internal workings of things. So this is pretty neat for me. It's not whole, but I love the way it looks. Let me grab a sip of water here. So, we'll talk about the harmonica reeds. This is the very first one that I found. And I did tell you in another video that I found one before and it was bent. And then I found this one in my most recent video. And it's pretty significantly bigger. You can see that. And I explained the history a bit of the harmonica, and I do think it's a really, really cool history that it has. So these are very special to me. And a little shout out to Old as Dirt relic hunting. I reached out to Old as Dirt and asked about cleaning a harmonica reed because I saw that she had found some before as well. And you can see that it's a bit rusty there. She gave me some advice about maybe using a nylon pad to sort of buff this out. Typically, I have used Evapor Rust, and I put the product, the item down into Evapor Rust, and that usually eats away at a lot of the rust. But I think the nylon pad is a great idea. I think I'm going to give that a try. And then she also suggested some 3-in-1 oil, maybe, because I had asked her, should I use some 3-in-1 oil? What do you think? And she said, yeah, you could do that if you want to have a little bit of a sheen on it, but you don't have to. And she said, as long as you keep it in a dry area, it should be fine. So I think that's how I'll end up cleaning those up. So that's a project for me another day. Behind, I have found different internal clock parts. I have found various ones, some that I'm not even going to show you because I found a bunch of them. Again, I love that. I love the gears that have come with it. Very cool. I just love how they look. I love how they display on a shelf as well. Very cool. Another kind of lock mechanism. I can't wait to find like an old school padlock someday. I think that would be really neat. Let's see. Back here we've got, this was an interesting one. When I found it, I knew exactly what it was. Seems like an old flattened piece of metal, but actually, what does that look like? It's a flashlight. This is actually a, what does it say? It says solid copper on it. So that's why it has a little bit of a green patina on it, because it is copper. I did some research, and I think this is likely from the 1930s. So I have also been on the lookout for the other parts to it. So there usually is a base for it, and then the top that held the bulb in and everything. So any kind of lid or top that I find, I usually try to see if it fits with this. And I haven't found it yet, but that's okay. I've got various, speaking of 3-in-1 oil, this is a 3-in-1 oil top, and it says patented. What does it say here? Patented 3-in-1 oil company. So I'm guessing this was when the product was relatively new. I couldn't quite get a date on it, but I thought that was neat. I like anything that has writing on it. This is another buckle I found. It's pretty corroded and crusty, but it is a type of buckle, and I'm happy to have it. So I've got a light bulb fixture. This is the one that I found recently. I have a lot of them. They're very different, all of them, different sizes. This one was interesting because it has, I don't know if that's enamel, something like that on the end, which I haven't found one like that so far. So I found that interesting. Which leads me to this. And some of you may know what this is, and others of you are scratching your heads right now. The only reason I knew what this was because I saw someone else pull one. This is actually a fuse, an old style fuse for a house. There's writing along the outside here, so I was able to look up the numbers and the writing that I found, and I determined this was probably from the 30s as well. I just think that's so neat. And again, I could choose to clean this up more, but for right now, I'm just going to keep it the way it is. I cleaned it up. It was obviously a lot dirtier than this, but I cleaned it up to the point where I felt like, okay, I can display that and it'll look nice. So that was cool. I found another one as well, but it's like broken in half. Let's go on to this. So that might not look like much, but this is half. You can kind of see where it's broken off here, where the hinge would have been. This is half of a compact, and it actually is the brand called Cody. So let me see if I can find what I wrote up on that brand, because that was interesting as well to me. Let me see here. Yeah. I know I have it written down here. Let me just scroll a little bit. There we go. Okay, so this is a brand called Cody. Now, I could be saying that wrong, but if you pop it, when I got it home, I thought, what in the world is this? And it was shut like that. And I went, that seems interesting. I wonder if that pops open. So I just took my fingernail and I went, pop. And there it is right there. And this is probably where the rouge would have been, because I've seen some of them online just like this. So that probably would have been the rouge. This, if it wasn't so tarnished and crusty, if I really polished that up, this would have been basically the mirror to look at yourself in. And then on the bottom would have been the powder puff. So I'm just missing the bottom of it, which is a shame, but I love having this top. I think it's really neat. So let me tell you a little bit about the Cody brand. I did a little research on it and found that it's an American multinational beauty company founded in Paris, France in 1904. It was founded by a man named Francois Cody. Now, I don't speak French, so I'm probably saying Cody wrong. It's probably like Coty or something like that. Who knows? And apology to the French because that I just botched that. And let's see what else. They had a line of fragrances, cosmetics, skincare, nail care. And now Cody owns around 40 brands as of 2024. The company began its global expansion in the early 1910s. First in London and New York, the company's products gained more attention in the United States by World War I, and soldiers started returning from France with gifts for loved ones. During the 1920s, Cody launched more than 15 new fragrances and expanded into Germany, Italy, Spain, and Switzerland. Cody was formed in New York in 1922 and became a publicly traded company in 1925. So the research that I did on this initially really adds up, because what I found is that this is roughly 1920s. So that really makes a lot of sense in terms of the further research I did about the information of the company. So I thought that was really, really neat. Let's move on. This is an insulator cap. So this is what I was telling you all about in my last video. This is one that I found just alone. No metal, but this is what would sit here at the top. It'd actually be like that, just like that. And I believe, I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the way this worked was this part here was typically, I think, maybe kind of glued down into the top. And then I think there was a rubber seal that went around the inside. And that's what helped to seal and preserve foods. So just a neat find. And I don't know if this is a type of glass. It might be like what they refer to as like milk glass. But I haven't done a whole lot of research on the makeup of that material. But again, here it is inside. And this is actually the one that I found with you all on my last video. And here's another example of one that I found another time off video that had all of the jar top still intact inside, and it has slowly sort of started crumbling, unfortunately. But this is a ball one. The interesting thing about ball is you can look online and tell the age of the jar or the lid that you find based on the writing. So I'm trying to remember what this one was. I can't quite remember the date of this one, but The interesting thing is I told you all, I have found bottles, I have found glass. Here's one of the pieces of glass that I found. This is part of a ball mason jar. And I think this one, if I remember correctly, because it has this little tail right here on the A, and that's how I was able to identify it. Because it has that little tail, I think, if I remember right, it's 1910s, 1920s. So this is on my finds shelf as well. As well as this piece of glass, which is actually pretty thick, a lot thicker than that other one. And this says 1858 on it. And when I found that, I just went, oh my gosh, 1858. But I did some research, and this is not the year of the jar per se. This is, I believe, the year that it was founded, or when the company started. Can't quite remember, but it is not that old. However, it is probably still pretty old. Very thick glass, and I just think it's unique. I like having that date. I think it was like November 30th, 1858. So that's pretty neat. Another bottle piece here too. I'm pretty sure this is what they refer to as a circle slug on the top, on the outside of a bottle, where the brand or whatever it is that was in the bottle would have been embossed. So I wasn't quite able to figure out what this one was. I need to do a lot of research on the ones that I have found. I have a whole table outside full of pieces of glass, and I'm slowly working on tumbling some of them to make it a little more smooth to handle. So that's a project of mine. If anyone knows what this is, please tell me. I still don't know. It's the cap to something, has a bit of a thread. I think it says Seco. I'm not quite sure. I've tried to do like a Google Lens photo, where you take a picture of an image and then do an image search that way, and I got nothing. So it seemed older to me, but I could be wrong. But if anyone knows, please comment below and let me know. This little thing was what I found on one of the videos that I dedicated to a man named Norman, because this is like a little identity tag. Who knows what he had it on, but Norman, this one's for you, buddy. That was a pretty cool find as well. I like finding stuff that has writing, embossing on it, because that means I get to do research on it even more extensively, and I love that. When you're out and about, you're gonna find various shotgun shell tops. This one was interesting. I think maybe kind of may have been like I really don't even know, honestly. Maybe a drawer pull, not sure. It's very green, and then it almost looks like it has a bit of gilt to it too, but I could be wrong. Gold gilt. I said that coin, the Indian head, was my very first thing when I found out, but actually this bullet casing was, and I found it with, it was before I got my detector officially, and this I actually found with just a little pinpointer. I was so excited when I got it, and I went outside and I just was pinpointing on the ground, and I happened to find this with the pinpointer. I had no idea what it was going to be, but this is actually my very first find. And even though it's probably not very old, I was pretty much hooked then, because I thought, what else is out there waiting for me to find, So, I forgot to mention this one. Some of you might recognize this already, and others of you may not. This is a clock winder. And I knew immediately what it was when I found it, because I have a clock here that I care for at my house, and I do wind it from time to time. Last time I wound it, I haven't wound it since, but I wound it for my grandmother when she passed. And I wound it every day for a solid week to remember her. And I haven't had the heart to wind it since, but someday I will again. And the one that I have is very similar to this. It's just a little smaller. So I think this probably went to likely a larger clock. Because mine is mantle size. It can fit on a mantle. Just to give you kind of a perspective. So this is probably a little bit of a bigger clock, but again, I don't know much about it. There's nothing really written on it, but it's a cool piece to have. I do really, really love that. Make sure I got everything here. This little guy. Okay, this is not a historical find, but I just love him. I absolutely love him. It is, yes, it's made of metal, because that's how I found it, and brought it home, and I used the Google Lens and realized this is a little game piece for the 40th, I think it was the 40th year celebration of the game Risk. So this little piece was created for that, for the game. 40 years of the game. I've never played Risk, so I really don't know anything about it, but this little guy, I love how small it is. So again, he lives on my finds shelf, and he probably always will. Let me grab another sip of water, and then I think that was the main stuff. Oh, except for, this bottle. And I found this on the last video as well. Again, this is a 1910s, 1920 medicine bottle. And interestingly, Alina told me when I found this, she said, hey, did you know that medicine bottles were created with this amber color oftentimes because it helped with, as far as I know, the amber color protected the medication from light. So medications that would have been damaged by UV light or whatever, some kind of light, it usually protected the medication in the bottle. So that's why oftentimes we find older medicine bottles with that color, which I find really cool. So she told me that, and I, of course, had to do a little research on it. And yeah, it's not just an aesthetic choice. It's a vital functional feature that safeguards the integrity and efficacy of the medicine inside. So yeah, thought that was really cool. That little tidbit that she added just sort of added even more to my knowledge about even bottles. That I know a bottle is not metal detecting, but sometimes when you're out and about, you happen to find stuff. And then suddenly you're knowledgeable about bottles, and that's not even what you intended when you initially went out. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to try to make this quick because, boy, this video is getting longer than I thought it would. So if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. It means the world to me that anybody would care enough to watch this. But let's get through this box, and then I think I'll pretty much wrap up. So, and just to say, these are all my historical, what I would call historical finds. I have also found clad. Now, sometimes you just find clad, even if you're not out hunting for clad. And that's not the main thing that I'm interested in finding. I would pick a historical find over clad any day. Sorry to say it, clad. But I do have clad, and I think I said it was around $30 at this point because I haven't been trying to find it really. Let's see, and that's $30 over the last year. This find was cool. Not going to go into it too much. I had no idea what it was, but I did some research, and it turns out to be an advertising piece. It does have information on it, but it does say the area where I found it. So I'm just going to leave, that to the imagination. But it's a little advertising trowel, so companies would have handed these out. Um, why it was a trowel, I don't know, because I don't think it has any relevancy to the company that was advertising. But I think oftentimes people use these as letter openers as well. So that's a pretty cool little piece. This one, yeah, this is what I talked about in one of the videos. And when I first found it, I went, no idea. I cleaned it enough to see that it says combination model K. So I did that research, and guess what? This is a piece to a phonograph, an Edison phonograph. I think I had said telegraph, but I wasn't thinking at the time, and it is a phonograph. So that's pretty neat. Yeah, that history is so cool. I love that. Found this piece here, which I just recently figured out what it was. There's some things that you take home and you just no idea, and eventually you get around to cleaning it and looking at it a little bit more, and I finally did that with this piece because I thought it was just a piece of scrap. Well, this is from, let me look here, Domestic S&M, is it S&M? Domestic SM Co. And what that is Domestic Sewing Machine Company. So this was a part to a sewing machine, the Domestic SM Company sewing machine. And this is likely where, I don't know sewing machine terms, but where you're gonna feed the fabric through and the thread comes up. So it's probably that piece, I'm guessing. But yeah, very cool. I love that little star there too. How cool is that? An old, pain medication, little thing, little tin. Oh boy, this one's interesting. So this one came out of the ground, and what a weird feeling this was. This came out of the ground, and I don't want to turn it over yet, but I started cleaning it and wiping away the dirt, and slowly, it revealed to me a face. And I first got a little freaked out because I went, oh my gosh, that's not what I was expecting at all. But this is the face that was looking back at me. Yeah. I usually keep it face down, just in case. I don't believe in bad juju or anything, but yeah, this was an interesting one. I wish I could clean it up a little bit better. I tried some electrolysis on it. I tried cleaning it a little bit better. I think the back would have more detail on it. And my guess is this probably, I think you can see maybe where it would have had a hinge, and maybe would have fit down onto another piece is my guess. But we'll call her Edna. Edna, whoever you were, I hope you're resting in peace now. And you'll probably forever be in this little box face down. Maybe every once in a while I'll get you out and maybe creep some people out. Yeah, various lids, tops to things. Because oftentimes bottles, different types of little squeeze bottles would have had tops like that. This one, yeah, the rest of this is kind of hodgepodgey, little bits and bobs. This one is cool, okay? I just recently figured out what this is. And it's all because of Green Mountain Metal Detecting. I saw posted a picture of an item, and I went, oh my gosh, that's what I have. and I had no idea what it was. Now, I brought it home and tried to clean it a little bit, and I feel like I kind of did it a disservice. But it is this. Now, this looks like, oh, what is this? Some old lady's costume jewelry? What is this? Spaceship? I don't know. I just went, gosh, what is this? It's got to be something. I mean, obviously, but what is it? Couldn't tell. So I cleaned it. I tried to see if there's writing on it. And I finally came to realize, I think this is, oh gosh, now the name's escaping me. Of course it is. Oh, it's a horse's, is it rosette? I think I'm saying that right. Should have written that down, but I'll correct myself if I'm wrong on that one, or I'll give myself a thumbs up, pat on the back if I'm right. So this probably was something fancy on a horse, on maybe the bridle or something. But that same item that Green Mountain Metal Detecting had was green like that. It looked exactly the same, except theirs was a lot more detailed around the edges. So again, I think I did it a disservice when I cleaned it because I didn't know what it was. And you always should be careful just in case. But sometimes you want to clean to see if there's more detail that gets revealed. But this is pretty cool. I'm so glad I put that puzzle piece together. Okay, that's basically it for my finds. In terms of the things that I really wanted to show off. There's some other things like, let's see. I found this. Now it is very corroded. I tried evapo rust on this one. It's just half of a, I guess, a toy gun. I'm really not sure was it an advertising piece? I really don't know. This was cool too. This was an old license plate that I found. Says 1921 on it. Again, it was very corroded. Even after evapo rust, it just wouldn't really clean up very well. And with that said, I have found other things like that ring for that barrel. I have found probably, 6 or so axe heads. This past year I found a small spade head too. Wasn't very big, but things like that I have still, but I don't keep them inside. I don't put them on my find shelf because they're pretty rusty and crusty. So these are the things that I sort of keep with me. I did want to show off a couple things, and then I will officially wrap up. I don't know if you follow this channel, but if you don't, you should. Sci-Finds. He's one of the first channels that I started watching, and I was really, really impressed, and I learned so much from just watching him. Now, he does Thames mudlarking. Now, I don't mudlark because I don't really have a place to do that around here. But the knowledge that I gained just from watching him interact with the finds, clean them, just even the art and the artistic way that he displays things and creates. I've learned so much from him. I reached out and bought something on a few things on his Etsy page last year, one of which is this bottle, and it says "not to be taken" on it. You can see that on the front, and the ridges here as well. You can see that. Now, this would have been what was considered probably a poison bottle. And what I learned from him is that the ridges, and even not to be taken on the front, but the ridges especially, poison bottles, and poison, not necessarily even poison in the way that we think about it, but just something that should not be ingested, would have been put in a bottle like this and would have had ridges for people, let's say, poor eyesight, Or let's say you were looking for some medicine bottle in the middle of the night and it's dark and you didn't want to light your candle. Well, you would just feel the outside of the bottle, and if it had ridges, you knew, okay, I'm not touching that one. So someone with poor eyesight, or if you're fumbling in the dark, you would have known, I am not gonna drink out of that bottle. But he said that this one was probably, early 1900s, probably 1900 around, and I just think that color is fantastic. So, so pretty. And then I asked him because I think they are amazing, I asked for some clay pipes because I love watching him pull clay pipes. So here's one. And literally it is made of clay. It's actually pretty hard, surprisingly. So some of them are more ornate than others. These would have been probably the Victorian era. Some of them have little feet that you can rest. Now, these pipe stems are broken, so you can't tell exactly how long it would have been. You can see the hole there where the smoke would have gone through. Some of these have even some char on the inside where you know that would have been the residue for the smoke. This one is cool. I believe he said this was, I'm sorry if I get this wrong. I should have looked. But it's been a while since I took a look at this one and did research on it. But I believe this was RAF. So some military design. So it's got that crown here, you can see. And then it has a little bird on the back. And again, the pipe stem probably would have been longer. And let's get that away from the rusty crusty. This one's cool. Little knobbly one. It's pretty neat. And there you can see an example of a foot. So you would have rested like that and the pipe stem would have come out. But that way you could set it down without the tobacco and the ash falling all over the place. This one I love. This one is so cool. So this was, you can see that stem is a little bit longer. It's still broken, but boy, that's the best one in terms of completeness. It has the name of the pipe maker on it, and you can see it's a talon. It's a talon from a bird, probably representing like an egg or something that it's holding. And you can see the street where it was made from. So I wanted to share those because I just think they're so neat. And I'm very thankful to Sci-Finds for allowing me to purchase these items because they will forever be treasured by me. And thank you for all the learning that I've done and I've taken from you. I have also just recently Alina and I went fossil hunting and shark teeth hunting. And I wanted to show you, just kind of show some of that off real quick. So let's see. Excuse the fumbling. I'm just trying to pull out the best ones that I have found. So I went sifting at Westmoreland State Park. Alina took me there for my birthday, and it's right on the Potomac River, and you go down there and you can sift. So there's some shark's teeth. I believe this one's a hammerhead. I can't remember what this one is, but they're so cool. That was so neat to pull out of the sand. That's not metal detecting, but I think if you're a metal detectorist, you enjoy finding things. You get joy out of that, and this was no different. I had to be drug out of there because I just wouldn't stop looking. I've got various bits and bobs of what I believe are fossils, probably bone fossil, I'm guessing. And then let me look for a really good example. I think it's, here it is. So this, I believe, I've got a little pamphlet here that I could go grab and show you, but gosh, this has already taken too long. So we've got, I believe what these are. From what I remember from the pamphlet, this is a fossil of basically the gum, the gums of a shark. I believe that's right. So either way, it's a fossil. Whether it's that or not, I don't really care. I think it's pretty cool. This is another type of fossil as well. So we found various bits and bobs. I found a piece of little tiny shard of pottery down there, probably clay pottery. Found coral. I found other shark's teeth. I found a lot of other fossils as well. So I would highly recommend, if you're a detectorist, try other things. Go mudlarking, go fossil hunting, try other things because it's just as fun. And if I lived near the beach, I'm sure I'd be out on the beach detecting all the time, but that's not where I live. I live in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, and that just means that most of the time I detect the ground. When I do go to the beach, I have started detecting on the beach as well, and that's of course very fun too. So get out there, try different things. I could go into a lot of other stuff, the tumbler that I have, all the glass I have outside, and maybe I'll do some more videos like that. But I wanted to give you an idea of what's out there waiting for you. I hope that this video helps light a fire under someone to give it a try. Just get out there, give it a try. Find a place to go and just get started. You don't have to do research like I did to start. You can go out into your yard. You can go out and ask other people, if you can detect in their yard. I just happened to know of a place that I thought would be pretty good, and when I did research on it, I realized I was right. By the way, I have already mentioned Old as Dirt, relic hunting, but she's got a fantastic video on her channel. Please go watch it, about how to do research using old maps and to discover where buildings used to stand. And that's a great place to go detecting if you get permission. She's one that's done a great video on that. Where I first learned about that, though, was actually adventure archaeology. I hadn't even heard about that. I mean, it makes perfect sense, but I hadn't done that. So I learned about that concept. So grateful to learn about that. He's got that on his channel, so please go check out his channel as well. I've learned so much from all of the YouTubers that I have watched and gathered knowledge from over the years. And I did a lot of research on YouTube, watched a lot of videos before I even got started. So that helped me to know that I was ready to do it and I wanted to. But I have found several people who have given great instruction on doing research on old maps, figuring out where buildings used to be. So on the site that I knew was a good spot, because of the video from Adventure Archaeology, I realized, I can figure out exactly where the building was on this property. And that sort of unlocked a lot for me. I was finding stuff before that, don't get me wrong. But once I figured out where the building was, that was it. I was just pulling stuff constantly. So do your research, but you don't have to. You can go out and you might be someone who wants to find clad. And that's the thing. This hobby gives a lot of different options. You can be someone who wants to find clad and see how much clad you can find and how much money you can make from that. Find jewelry, find rings, necklaces, all sorts of stuff. Or you might be someone who is very interested in history and the finds that you can find and do research on. For me, I love finding historical items because that's a tangible way to feel close to the people that came before us. They're items that you can actually feel and touch and realize that these people would have interacted with them. and I love researching. I love going into depth that way, but I love history. So that doesn't mean that that's all that this hobby is, though. You can create and do whatever you want, and it can become whatever you want it to become. It just happens to be that oftentimes you end up doing research and find historical finds, maybe even by accident. But oftentimes I think that that really piques people's interest. So I hope that you enjoyed seeing the things that I have found over the last year. It is my very first year of detecting, and I'm only going to continue. I absolutely adore this hobby. It has been the best hobby I have ever discovered, and I certainly will continue as long as I can. And I hope if you watch this, I hope that you feel ready to get started too. And if it's not this, I hope you find another hobby that interests you just as much. So, thank you for coming along this long ride with me. I know it was rather long, but it was fun to just experience everything alongside you all again. So, thank you for allowing me to do that. And I'll see you in the next one.